When Ben and his grandfather never returned from their fishing trip, the community was left in shock. Days turned into weeks, and despite extensive searches, no clues emerged. For 5 long years, their disappearance remained a haunting mystery. Then, on her deathbed, Ben's grandmother made a confession that changed everything. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. "I need to tell you the truth about that day," she whispered, her voice trembling. Faye, Ben's older sister, had no idea what her grandmother was talking about. She fluffed up her pillow and whispered, "Good night." But when she wanted to walk away, her grandmother grabbed her wrist tightly. "You will never forgive me, but you have a right to know the truth," she said, looking straight into Faye's eyes. "Grandma, you're scaring me," Faye answered, her heart racing. "It wasn't an accident," Faye's grandmother continued, tears welling up in her eyes. "John called me last week." Faye felt her stomach drop. "Grandpa called you?" she asked, her voice trembling. She didn't know what to think. Was her grandmother slowly losing her mind? Or was she telling the truth? "Grandma," Faye said, shaking her grandmother's shoulders lightly. She laid her ear on her grandmother's chest, but only heard the sound of her own heart racing. She sobbed, slumping to the ground. Now, her whole family was gone. It was like tragedy followed the Grayson family through the years. When Ben was 7 years old and Faye was about to turn 13, their parents died during a freak car accident, leaving them in the care of their grandparents. Then, only 2 years later, Ben and his grandfather mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind Faye and her grandmother. And now, at 20 years old, Faye was an orphan once again. It was a day after the funeral, and Faye was busy cleaning out the house when she found her grandmother's mobile phone. It was an old Nokia, and Faye chuckled, thinking it was just like her grandmother's to have a phone like this. Suddenly, she remembered what she had told her on her deathbed, and Faye didn't even think twice before going to her grandmother's last calls. Faye gasped, seeing her grandfather's name at the top of the caller list. Her heart raced, and she struggled to breathe. Sitting on the ground, tears fell as she realized he had tried calling her grandmother during the funeral, unaware of her passing. Faye hesitated, but eventually listened to his voicemail. "My love," he began, his voice breaking with emotion. "I'm taking these missed calls as a sign that you've passed away." Hearing his goodbye after 5 years of silence brought tears, but also a glimmer of hope. If her grandfather was alive, maybe her younger brother was too. Determined to uncover the truth, Faye searched her grandmother's messages. She found a recent reply from her grandfather. "Good to talk to you again, my love. Our plan has worked. We'll be together very soon." The cryptic message stunned her. What plan? Faye considered going to the police but hesitated, knowing the recently appointed Chief Coomber lacked her trust. Instead, she contacted Mr. Holling, the former officer who initially handled the case. Though he agreed to meet, his vague responses left Faye uneasy. "Sometimes things just don't add up," he said evasively. Faye felt he was hiding something and decided to keep digging. Reluctantly, she approached Officer Coomber, showing him her grandmother's phone. Surprisingly, he took her concerns seriously. "This is significant," he said, after examining the messages. He admitted suspicions about her family's case, but revealed he was pressured to drop the investigation. "Politics, pressure from above," he explained. Faye's new evidence was enough to reopen the cold case. "Stay alert," Coomber advised. "We'll need more information." Unable to wait, Faye launched her own investigation. Searching her grandmother's belongings, she combed through drawers and boxes, eventually uncovering an old, dusty box in the attic. Inside, she found letters, photographs, and a small locked diary. Intrigued, she carefully opened the diary, its yellowed pages revealing her grandmother's growing unease in past entries. Faye's hands trembled as she read, sensing the truth was within reach. The diary revealed her grandfather's secretive behavior, including late-night phone calls and mysterious meetings. "John's been acting strange," one entry read. Faye's curiosity deepened as she pieced together a man hiding something significant. The final entry sent chills down her spine. "John is in deep trouble, and I'm scared for Ben." Determined, Faye brought the diary to Officer Cumber. After reading it, he declared, "This changes everything." Together, they pieced together a timeline, matching dates from the diary with other evidence. It became clear her grandfather was involved in something dangerous. "These aren't random meetings," Cumber noted. Faye began receiving anonymous threats, warning her to stop investigating. Despite her fear, she pressed on, documenting every clue and updating Cumber. "Be careful," he warned. Faye, now staying with her friend Emma for safety, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The threats intensified, but so did Faye's resolve. A mysterious package arrived, an old photograph of her grandfather with unknown men and a chilling note. "They know you're looking. Be careful." Faye realized her grandfather's involvement with a dangerous criminal group. "We need to find out who sent this," she told Emma, who agreed to help. The photograph felt like the key to unlocking the truth. Faye's journalist friend offered to investigate the men in the photo. With new hope, they began identifying the faces, determined to uncover the secrets tied to her grandfather's disappearance. Emma used her connections to identify the men in the photograph. "This one's a smuggler," she said, pointing to one figure. Another was tied to organized crime, and the third, the ringleader, was part of a dangerous criminal ring. Faye's heart sank. "And Grandpa was mixed up with them?" she asked. Emma nodded solemnly. The connection was undeniable. Faye and Emma speculated on her grandfather's motives, considering he might have been forced into it or trying to protect someone. Determined, they continued piecing together the puzzle. Every discovery brought more urgency to uncover the truth. Faye and Officer Cumber confronted Mr. Holling again. Under pressure, he revealed he had been threatened to abandon the case, fearing for his family's safety. He provided a crucial lead, a safe house rumored to be linked to Faye's grandfather. With hope reignited, Faye and Cumber set out to investigate. They found the safe house, a secluded cabin deep in the woods. Inside, signs of recent occupancy confirmed her grandfather and Ben had been there. Among the scattered belongings, Faye discovered a letter from her grandfather. Her hands trembled as she read it. The letter confessed his involvement in a criminal ring, explaining he had joined to protect the family, but became entangled in something far darker. "I never wanted this for you or Ben," the letter read. Faye's eyes filled with tears. "We were right," she said to Cumber. "There's still more to uncover." The letter revealed Faye's grandmother helped them disappear to protect them from the organization. "Your grandmother was the only one I trusted," her grandfather wrote. "She arranged everything, ensuring we had a place to hide." Faye felt a pang of sadness mixed with gratitude. "She did it to keep us safe," she said, her voice breaking. Cumber nodded. "She was incredibly brave," he said. Faye wiped her tears, feeling a deep sense of love for her grandmother. Her grandfather apologized for the years of worry and fear, explaining their need to stay hidden. He continued, "I hope you can forgive me." Faye felt a mixture of sorrow and relief, understanding the sacrifices made for her safety. Faye felt a mix of relief and determination to bring her family back together. "We can do this," she said to Cumber. "We can find them and bring them home." Cumber nodded, sharing her resolve. "We will," he assured her. Faye's mind raced with plans and possibilities. She knew the path ahead would be difficult, but the hope of reuniting with her family gave her the strength she needed. "Let's get to work," she said. Officer Cumber and Faye continued to investigate, gathering more evidence. They sifted through documents, made phone calls, and interviewed anyone who might have information. "Every piece of evidence brings us closer," Cumber said. Faye nodded, determined. "We have to find them and take down this criminal ring," she replied. They worked late into the night, driven by the need to uncover the truth and ensure their family's safety. "We're getting closer," Faye thought. Their goal was to dismantle the criminal ring and ensure her family's safety. "We need to stop them once and for all," Cumber said. Faye agreed, her resolve unshaken. "They've caused enough pain," she said. Together, they laid out a plan, focusing on gathering airtight evidence that could lead to arrests. "We'll make sure they can't hurt anyone else," Cumber assured her. Faye felt a renewed sense of purpose. "For my family," she said softly. Faye and Officer Cumber worked tirelessly, gathering evidence against the criminal ring. They pored over documents, followed leads, and conducted interviews. "Every detail matters," Cumber reminded Faye. She nodded, fully immersed in their mission. They spent countless hours connecting the dots, determined to build a solid case. "We're getting closer," Faye said, her eyes tired but resolute. Cumber agreed. "We just need to keep pushing," he replied. They coordinated with law enforcement to plan a takedown of the organization. "This has to be precise," Cumber emphasized during a briefing. Faye listened intently, knowing the stakes were high. Officers from various departments joined forces, each bringing crucial expertise. "We'll hit them hard and fast," one officer said. Faye felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "This is it," she thought. They finalized their plans, ready to bring the criminals to justice. Despite the danger, Faye felt a sense of closure knowing the truth. "I finally understand," she told Cumber. "All the secrets, the fear, it makes sense now." Cumber nodded. "You've been incredibly brave, Faye," he said. She smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. "Thank you," she replied. The truth, though painful, gave her a newfound strength. Faye knew the road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it. The investigation led to several arrests, significantly weakening the criminal ring. "We've got them," Cumber announced after a series of successful raids. Faye felt a surge of relief. Justice is being served, she thought. The arrests sent shockwaves through the community, and Faye knew their efforts were making a real difference. "This is just the beginning," Cumber said. Faye nodded, proud of what they had accomplished. "We did it," she said softly. With justice served, Faye felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. "We can rebuild now," she told Cumber. He smiled. "Yes, you can," he agreed. Faye looked forward to a future free from fear and uncertainty. She knew there was still work to be done, but the worst was behind her. "I'm ready for whatever comes next," she thought. Faye's heart was filled with hope as she embraced the new beginning. She continued to work with Officer Cumber to ensure the safety of her family. "We need to stay vigilant," Cumber reminded her. Faye nodded, understanding the importance of their continued efforts. They set up security measures and stayed in constant communication. "I won't let anything happen to them," Faye vowed. Cumber smiled, appreciating her determination. "Neither will I," he replied. Together, they created a plan to keep her family safe, ready to face any challenges ahead. Faye reunited with her grandfather and brother, beginning the journey to rebuild their lives. The moment she saw them, her heart swelled with emotion. "Grandpa, Ben!" she cried, running to embrace them. Tears flowed freely as they hugged tightly. "We've missed you so much," her grandfather said, his voice choked with emotion. Ben nodded, his eyes filled with relief. "We're together again," Faye whispered. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to start anew. The community rallied around Faye, offering support and encouragement. Neighbors brought over meals, friends checked in regularly, and kind words flowed freely. "You're not alone," one neighbor said, squeezing Faye's hand. "We're here for you." Faye felt overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. The sense of community strengthened her resolve. With their support, she knew they could overcome any obstacle. They were not alone. Faye and her family began to heal, looking forward to a brighter future together. They spent time talking, sharing their experiences, and planning for the future. "We've been through so much," Ben said, "but we're stronger now." Faye nodded, feeling the truth in his words. They took small steps each day, finding joy in the little things. "We're on the right path," her grandfather said. Faye smiled, feeling hope blossom within her. The future looked bright. She had gotten her family back together. If only her grandmother had seen it, she would have been so proud. Faye often thought of her, imagining her smile and the pride in her eyes. "She did so much for us," Faye said, looking at a photo of her grandmother. Her grandfather nodded. "She would be proud of you, Faye," he said. Faye felt a warmth in her heart, knowing her grandmother's spirit was with them. They were together again. Tell us what you think about this story, and share it with your friends. It might inspire them and brighten their day.